And a very good morning to everyone today, and welcome to this EC webinar. Our webinar today is entitled The Sales Approach That Delivers Results. Thank you for joining. My name is Sean Dale. I'm the Managing Director of EC. I'll be telling you a little bit more about us as we go through this presentation, but my contact details are here. Just a couple of things. You'll see in the handout section I've put a white paper for you to download anytime. There's also available on our website if you want to go and have a look at that at some other time. You'll see my contact details are put there, but we'll also share this presentation to the attendees. So thank you very much. Just a brief look at our agenda today. First of all, I'll start with introducing EC, just telling you a little bit more about us. Not too much of that though, because we're really here to talk about this new sales approach. We're going to start a little bit with the 80-20 and the current paradigm of selling and why it's a little bit faulty, or what are the problems with it. We'll have a look at the new economy of sales, and then eventually we'll get into EC's solution to some of the problems that we talk about in this webinar. So let's begin a little bit with EC. So EC, fundamentally, we're a technology company. We specialize in implementing software for our customers. That software is generally in the space of customer relationship management or customer engagement management, sales and marketing software, those kinds of things. In this digital era where customers are trying to engage with companies in new and authentic ways, we are there to help and provide technology that's going to help you to do that. We do that by combining a few elements together that we feel are crucial to success. The first one is focusing on the human, focusing on the people. And we call this human-centered design, and we say, as long as we're providing software that's helping people to do their jobs in better ways, then we're achieving success. And in order to do that, we of course have to rely on the best technology available, and we have to bring our own super skilled software engineers to come along and tailor the software to your specific business. And we believe the combination of this helps you to make your business better than you ever imagined it could be. So that's really EC in a nutshell. We've performed hundreds of implementations in the CRM space in diverse industries, including financial services, banking, media, manufacturing, business services, higher education, public sector, and so on. So that's just a little bit about us. If I then now get into the heart of the presentation. I'm sure most of you are aware of this small little philosophy called the 80-20 rule, or otherwise known as the Pareto principle. And if you're not aware of it, basically in the sales context, we say that potentially up to 80% of your revenue is driven by a small minority of customers, in this case, potentially 20% of your customers. And the more and more companies that we deal with, the more we find this principle to be true. And so if you look at that, you say, actually, we've got a couple of problems with this. The first one is, what happens if you lose a couple of those key accounts that are driving this massive revenue for your business? Well, we've seen the net effect. We've seen where companies lose one or two key clients and they have to get rid of 20, 30, 40 staff. They have to downsize, they have to worry about cash flows, etc. And so these are some of the problems with having this unbalanced amount of revenue coming from a very small minority of customers. And so when we look at this, we see really two particular things that we need to focus on. The first one is increasing the key account base, saying, well, we can't just rely on the handful of customers that are producing this large amount of revenue. We have to split that risk across a broader number of customers. And so the first job of the sales organization is really to go and find companies that you can create new key accounts or grow them into becoming key accounts. And so that's quite important. The second objective is to protect the revenue that's sitting within your existing key accounts. What you don't want is competitive pressure coming and taking business away from you. And what you certainly don't want, and we hear it all too often, when a customer says, if only I'd known that you guys did that, I would have come and bought it from you. And that is, for me, the cardinal sin of selling. You need to make sure that you protect existing accounts. You need to make sure that you're there in your customers with them, helping them with their problems. And so, a company called CEB, they're now part of Gartner. Over 4 years, from roughly 2011 to 2015, they conducted probably what is the biggest sales survey in the world. They studied thousands of companies, tens of thousands of sales reps, thousands of buyers. And really they were looking to answer a few key questions. The first one is, what sets the best sales reps apart in a complex sales environment? The second one was, how do you replicate winning sales behaviors? And the third one is, how do you create a differentiated sales experience? Those are all key questions to answer, and they all tie into this philosophy that we're talking about key account or strategic account management. And so, part of the research showed us the following, that customers are already up to 50% of the way through the sales cycle or towards the purchase decision before they make the first meaningful contact with a seller, with a sales individual. And if you look at that statistic, it means that they're already doing research, they are on your website, they're on your competitors' websites, they're gathering a lot of information, they're discussing things internally, they're setting up purchasing teams. All of that is happening and you don't even know about it. When they phone you, when you get that lead coming through your website, whatever it may be, they're already far down the line. And so what they don't need is responsive brochure droppers who don't understand the value proposition, who can't go and change the business. They need people who are going to help them. When we speak to customers about the drivers of customer loyalty and purchase decisions, we always say to them, what do you think are the two most important things in a sale that are going to help people to buy? And generally people first spring out with price, then they might say product quality or service offering depth, or they might say the brand strength. Now all of those things are true, but the scary thing is the research showed us exactly how little those things counted. The first one is company and brand impact. What marketers spend a lot of time building brand, hey, this is the strength of our business. We work with dozens or thousands or whatever companies before, etc., etc. And that is important. It counts 19% of the way of the purchase decision, but it's not the single most important thing. Let's look at product and service delivery. That you would say is probably the most fundamentally important. Our products are the best. Think about your website. What do you say? Best products guaranteed, the best service offering, this kind of service quality guarantee, whatever it is. You think that those are the things that are driving purchase decisions. And again, it's important, but it's definitely not the majority of what customers are looking for. Here comes the price question. Well, value to price ratio only accounted for 9% of the customer loyalty metric in this purchase decision question. And so, surprisingly or unsurprisingly, the single biggest thing that drives purchase decisions is the sales experience itself. Now that, when we reveal that to customers and prospects that we work with, they're often astounded. Some of them shocked, some of them horrified, some of them scared about why they might be losing key deals, why they might be losing key accounts. And so when you start thinking of this sales experience and you start thinking of, well, what does that mean? That means my sellers that are out there in the market need to be on top of their game and they need to be providing this amazing sales experience. And so let's drill into the detail of what that means. What are companies looking for out of suppliers? The first thing is that they want you as a supplier to offer a unique and valuable perspective on the market. Think about that. You're engaged all the time with businesses within that industry or around the place, diverse industries potentially, and so you're uniquely positioned to bring different perspectives to that customer. The customer only has their perspective really, and so they're looking for that outside advice. They're looking for that market awareness that you can bring. The second thing is that they want you to navigate alternatives. That doesn't mean that they want you to help them navigate your competition. They just want to understand how to buy from you. What are the different options? They might have a budget provisioned on the side. Let's call it 100,000 Rand. And your solution might come in at 300,000 Rand, but you can provide different options that helps them to buy in at that 100,000 Rand price point. And so they need to understand what these options and alternatives are. What are the swings and roundabouts? What are they going to win? What are they going to lose? That's what they need. Not just a single offering and a single quotation. Next, suppliers help me avoid potential landmines. So again, this speaks to your experience as a supplier. Do not do this, or be careful of this. I'll give you a practical example. When we talk to companies about implementing sales software, we say to them, the most important thing, or one of the most important things, is executive buy-in. Without executive buy-in and management control, managers, first of all, don't pay attention to the software. And if managers don't pay attention to the software, your people are definitely not going to pay attention to the software. And any investment that you make in sales software is now completely null and void. And so those kind of landmines that you can specify upfront, get executive buy-in, you need to be involved in reporting, or whatever the case may be. Those specific landmines that you know about because you've done this before, they want to know about those because they don't want to throw good money after bad. They don't want to waste their investment. The next thing is they want suppliers to educate them on new issues and outcomes. So what happens down the line if I take this course of action? What happens in a good way? What happens in a bad way? What is the cost of not doing anything? That's something that sellers very, very rarely get into. If I don't buy this product, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to continue having pain. I'm going to continue experiencing this issue. It's going to continue costing you money, whatever the case may be. Remember, issues and outcomes are not necessarily as a result of buying your product. It might be as a result of not buying your product. And that's equally important. Super, super important in the sales experience is that you must be easy to buy from. Too often we see customers suffering because their processes, their sign-ups are way too complicated. They're asking their customers to sign forms, donate blood, whatever the case may be, to sign up, and it's just ridiculous. When you are too difficult to buy from, when you have processes that prohibit you from selling to customers, you've got a problem. And so this is something you can address quite quickly. Go and ask your customers for input into your process and say, what are the things we can improve? What did you find frustrating about our process? So customers want to find it easy to buy from you. Look at Amazon and their success. Probably the single biggest thing that made them successful early on was the single click buy. That was super important. That helped them separate themselves from everyone else. Come to Amazon, find what you want, click buy, transaction complete. No mess, no fuss, nice and simple. And so look at opportunities that you can create for your customers for that. And the last point is that they look at you as a provider and they say, you need to have widespread support across their organization. And what that means is that multiple people in your target customer or target prospect's business need to buy into your company and your offering, because then it's easier. If you've got one advocate who's trying to sell to a team of people in the background, you're up for problems if a competitor comes along and they've got more established relationships and so forth. And so you need to leverage the different, or identify, first of all, the different stakeholders and go after them one by one, building up support for your organization. And so these are all the things that are important in the sales experience, and they contribute greatly towards your success or your failure. But the problem is we don't see people doing this. It seems like common sense. Maybe I'm telling you nothing that you haven't heard before. But if that's true, I ask why so many sales representatives just set up meetings with customers. They say, oh, well, I haven't seen Fred in 2 months. Let me go and have a look. Let me go and have a meeting with him. I'll just set up coffee. And when they set up coffee, hey, Fred, I want to come through. They sit down, they discuss the box on the weekend, or they discuss the football or whatever's going on. And there's nothing really to say because they didn't go there with intent other than to say, hey, Fred, we need to get in the room and have a conversation. And so the conversation goes nowhere. And Fred himself looks at the seller and says, hey, why are you here? I don't understand. And then goes and says, okay, well, these are my problems that I have with your company's service delivery or the product that we've got working, or this is what you sold me last and it's not working for me. And so your sales call turns into a service call. And what happens then is that reps are spending very, very little of their time actually selling. And the more scary thing for me is that they believe that these types of meetings are building the relationship. It's important because I need to have good customer relationships. And I sell through relationships and all these excuses that you hear from sales representatives. The problem is that as a relationship seller, you're always wanting to resolve tension in the customer interaction. You always want to make it better, make it more amicable, make it more positive, encourage collaboration and all these things. But you're not actually doing anything. You're not actually helping the customer solve their problem. you're not challenging them, you're not making them think of new ways, you're not giving them anything they need, you're not delivering insight, you're not doing anything of those things that we spoke about in the previous slide. And so stop this behavior immediately. Talk with your reps, find out what they're doing, find out how they're engaging your customers, and start directing them towards a better way. What is that better way? Well, the first thing is that customers want insight. As I said before, they want to know about things. They want to know how your products or services can come into their value chain, into their value chain delivery to their customers, and how you can help them cut costs or increase revenue or deliver new products or open new markets, whatever the case may be. The point is, it's not the quality of the product or service per se. It's the value of the insight that you provide to the customer about your product and service offering. These are the things that our products or services are going to help you to do, Mr. Customer. They want that insight. You've got it, they need it. So ultimately, it's not what you sell, but it's how you sell it. And this is not schmoozing, it's not relationship building, it's about direct providing insight to the customer that they didn't have before. And of course, what you don't want to do is you don't want to provide them a whole lot of generic insight that leads them into the hands of your competitors. Thanks very much for qualifying that lead. Thanks very much for making them warm and making them ready to buy. We'll take it from here. You definitely don't want to do that. You want to help your customer through this process in a way that sets you up as the only provider of the solution to their problem. And so you need to lead your prospects or your customers to you by providing that insight. So where do you start? Well, go back and think about your business. Go back and think about how you deliver value. Go back and think about your unique selling proposition to the customer and start weaving in your customer success into stories that you're carrying to new customers and new prospects. Look at where you can deliver insight. Look at where you've helped people before, and bring that into your sales messaging and train your salespeople about these things. So when we look at the top performing sellers, and particularly with the study that CEB did, what are the kinds of things that top performing sellers do? Well, there's really three things that they do. The first is that they teach the message. They teach for differentiation. The second is that they tailor that message to the customer so that it resonates as well as it can. And the third thing is that they make sure that they're always in control of the sale. And they do this in a context of healthy, constructive tension. And I'll drill into each of these things a little bit more. So what does teach mean? I've been talking about insight. Well, you've got to deliver that insight in a way that makes customers think differently about their business and their problems. The key piece that you're looking for in the sales interaction is a customer saying, you know, I've never thought about it that way. When you hear that, and I promise you that those are the words that come out of their mouth almost every single time that you do this correctly. When you hear those words, I've never thought about it that way before, then you know you're teaching. Then you know you're differentiating from your competition. And that's the right kind of insight. The second thing is that you need to communicate the sales message in the context of the customer. In order to do that, you need to know the individuals that are involved, what their value drivers are, what the economic drivers of the business are, and you need to keep this communication going. So you need to really know what it is that makes them tick, what it is that makes them buy, and you need to leverage those that knowledge and provide the messaging and the insight directly to them in a way that makes sense to them in that context. So don't go and ramble on about how the CFO is going to find benefit in decreased costs when the chief sales officer is looking for increased sales or increased margins, whatever the case may be. It's not the same priority. It might ultimately boil down to the same thing on the balance sheet or the bottom line, but you need to tailor the message to the right audience. And this take control doesn't mean being bossy. It doesn't mean being aggressive. It means pursuing your goals in a direct and non-aggressive way to overcome the risk aversion. And the primary thing here, as I said before, is customers don't take action. Maybe they're too scared. Maybe they don't want to commit budget. Maybe they've done similar things before and they haven't worked. And so they're risk averse. They don't want to do things that are not going to yield results or yield positive returns. And so what you need to do is overcome this. You need to say, you need to be comfortable discussing money, and you need to get them to take action. Little bit by little bit. Try this. Lower risk option A. Whatever the case may be, however you can help them by taking control and moving this thing on in a way that you're in charge, you're behind the driving wheel. And lastly, you need to leverage this constructive tension to your advantage. So if there's no tension, if it's relaxed, then you're in the world of the relationship seller. You've removed the tension, and they're not going to take action. If there's a world of tension, if you keep on pressing them and showing them, look, if you continue to do things the way you've been doing them, expecting different results, then you are mad. It's not going to happen. You need to keep that tension up so that you can propel them to take action. That's what this constructive tension is all about. And so change is uncomfortable. People don't like change. So you've got to constantly push them towards that change and say, we're the answer to your problem. We're going to help you through this change. We're going to drive this forward. And so you've got to keep this constructive tension all the way. And so these really are the key points that you need to work with your sellers, that you're driving this message, that you're tailoring the message specifically to the audience that you want to hear that message, and that you're in control. So we've been working in this space for a number of years now and helping customers in different ways. And what we've done is taken the world of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, which is one of the leading technologies in the customer relationship and sales management space, and we've put a bunch of different components together to speak to each of these problem areas that I spoke about before. So let's go through them. The first one is account insight. And here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help you to provide insight to your customer. And so how we do that is we take information and we elevate that. Stuff that normally sits in the back office and ERP or accounting systems that sellers don't have access to, and we elevate that information to the front so that they can go and see it and they can leverage that information to drive a more pertinent discussion with the customer. So just to remind you what we were talking about before, it's not customer-driven insights that are valuable to the supplier. It's supplier-generated insight that's valuable to the customer. In other words, if you're looking to try and get insight out of your customer because it's valuable to you, that's the wrong way. You should be taking the insight that you glean from doing what you do before, taking that into the sales conversation with your customers, generating insight for them in a way that becomes valuable to them. Let's talk about some simple things. So here's an example of a dashboard that we've given one of our customers. There's a hypothetical account called Strident, and here's a dashboard that's showing revenue trends over the last 12 months, or whatever the case may be, different fiscals. And so in the bottom left there, I can see that the average trend for this customer is on the up, which is great. Although in the fiscal year 18, we've got a sharp decline. And so what is immediately as a seller, I should be addressing that problem. I should be going and saying to the customer, look, in years gone by, you've bought 10 times what you're buying right now. What's the problem? Is it that you overbought at the end of last period because we're trying to push you to year end? Is it that your production has slowed down? What's the case? What's the problem? And it's that insight that you didn't have before that helps you to steer a more pertinent, direct conversation with a customer. And we can elevate any information. Whatever information you've got in the background, we can bring that up, we can put them in dashboards, we can provide those dashboards to your sellers in a way that makes sense to them to help them to have the right conversation. So here we look at this different dashboards in different contexts, and really Dynamics is an amazing product that allows you to have the same dashboard on your phone, on your tablet, on your desktop device, whatever it is. Wherever you go, you'll have access to that information, and that's really, really important for the seller. And of course, these dashboards are completely configurable. They're configurable to you, to your data, to your environment. And what we look for in every implementation is the opportunity to present information that the seller hasn't had access to that's going to help drive the sales conversation going forward. Other things that Dynamics helps you to do, it's got some great machine learning or intelligence built into it that goes and assesses things like incoming emails from customers. It reads the text and says, sure, this customer's upset with you, or whatever the case is. And you can see in the list of data in the back there, there's a relationship health state. Some of them are poor, some of them are good, some of them are fair. And what that's doing is it's looking at a combination of the amount of sales activity against that particular deal. It's looking at the velocity or the frequency of sales activity against the deal. It's looking at textual study of the emails and things that are tracked to the deal. And it's looking for positive sentiment to say, is this customer in a buying mode? Are they going to come along and transact with you, or have we got a problem here? So if you look at the last one, we've got video hardware upgrade for $2.7 million. The relationship is good, but it's on the decline. And so that's a problem. I need to pick up that opportunity, go and see which seller is driving that opportunity, and go and have a conversation about picking up that the activity rate or whatever the case may be. And so there's tools in the software to help your sellers to see where I've got issues with certain deals, where I've got where things are going well and I need to act now, those kinds of things. So the most important thing here is that we're trying to provide insight to your sellers so that they can take the right action at the right time. The next piece is account planning. And account planning, to me, is probably one of the most important activities that isn't being done by salespeople. I've seen so many sellers along the years come along and they just come to work and they just go, I'm going to phone these 5 people today. And they just phone and let the breeze blow them where they go. And maybe a call comes in from a customer and then they rush off out because they want to be busy. Or maybe an RFP comes in and then they're busy doing that. Very, very seldom do I see sellers actually focusing on putting together a plan and executing against that plan. And so how do we help you to solve this? Well, we look at an account plan and we say a good, well-rounded account plan is made up of a bunch of different characteristics. The first one is strategy. You need to understand your customer strategy. You need to understand how you're going to add value. You need to understand how you play a role in that business. And then you need to write that down in your account plan to say, this is where we need to add value for that customer. This is how we're going to add value. This is how we're going to help them execute on their strategy and how we're going to get this job done. If you don't know that, if you don't know how to add value to your customer, how are you going to provide insight back to them? The next one is objectives. I'm a firm believer in intent. If you sit with your sales team and you say, right, what are your objectives for the next month? Who are you going to speak to? What meetings are you going to have? What doors are you going to open? What brands are you going to interact with? Those are all important things that you should put down and say, these are the objectives. This is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get it done by that date, and hold your sellers accountable to those things. So we help with basic task management around that stuff to say, task 1, I'm going to phone Susan from ABC Fitters. I'm going to do that next week, Tuesday, and I'm going to make sure that I have made contact with her by the end of the month. And that is important. Those are the very specific objectives that we help you to build and log against the account plan so you can track and monitor progress. The next thing to well-rounded account plan is tracking key people, key dates, key resources, and key partners. So this is just information. Who are the people that need to be involved in the purchase decision? Oh, we need the CFO, we need the IT manager, we need the sales manager, whatever the case may be. Those are the people that need to be involved in this, in the sale. And am I speaking to them? Do I have relationships with those people? Key dates might be, when is your customer's year end? When is their budget cycle? When is the upgrade due? When is the warranty run out? All those things are important. When does our SLA run out? When do I need to initiate a sales conversation back with that customer? Who are the people internally that need to or that already work on this account? So Sally in operations deals with this customer, and so we need to go and pick Sally's brain and figure out exactly what we need to do, where the pain points are, and how we tailor that message to that customer. The next piece is sales budgets or sales targets. Again, I said intent. When you sit down and you do an account plan with a rep, you say to them, how much are you going to sell to this customer this year? 100,000, 500,000, a million? What are you going to do with them, and how are you going to drive them? How are you going to drive it forward? When you put a number in the ground, a peg in the ground, you've got something to hit. When you say, I'm going to see whatever I can do with that customer, there's no commitment there. You're not getting your sellers or your reps to do anything. Then any sale at that customer is fine because they haven't gone and put a peg in the ground. But if you say 1 million and they only sell 100,000, then you say, you've got a problem here. And so having that sales target is a super important thing. The next thing is tracking opportunity. Often what happens, particularly in larger companies, is that you've got a multitude of sellers or branches or whatever interacting with the same set of customers, And what happens is that often we find branches actually competing with each other, or internal departments competing with each other on the same deal. And that's a terrible place to be. So tracking and having an understanding of what opportunities, what deals are currently in play with that customer is super important. And then, of course, threats, monitoring competitive behavior, sitting and saying, look, ABC competitor or so-and-so is in the account trying to work with a customer. I saw a logo, or I saw something left behind, a bit of collateral, whatever. We need to act fast. We need to get back in front of that customer and go and land our value proposition. So those are all the elements of a well-rounded key account plan, and we tailored Dynamics CRM to include each of those things as a data entry point, so that you can sit down with your reps, you can construct this well-rounded account plan, and then you can monitor their success against that. The next thing that we've done is customize CRM to include this thing that we call a Relationship Explorer. And really, the reason that we did this was because so many companies have very few relationships with their customers, or within their customers. Maybe they have one person who's a key buyer or key decision maker, and they don't spread out. They don't go and say, well, oh, that one person, that's a risk. I need to go and have a contact in finance, a contact in HR, a contact in operations, a contact in support, whatever the case is. But I need to spread my risk over a bunch of people. Remember what I said before? You need to have widespread support across your organization. This is what Relationship Explorer helps you to do. So here's a view of the software. What we've got here is a fictitious account with Patrick as the CEO, and we've got the various departments from sales to finance to ops to HR to strategy to marketing, etc. And then what we've done is said not only identify the key people that are in each of these divisions through you capturing data in the CRM, but what we've done is we've gone and applied some intelligence in the back to go and say, how strong is the relationship with each of those people? And so in a very clear, beautiful organizational view here, I can see that I've got a problem in sales. Tabiso might not like us for some reason. Maybe we were too expensive in the previous bid, or maybe we had a performance issue, whatever the case may be there. And old Derek in finance there as well is not too, doesn't love us too much. We've got pretty widespread support across the rest, but we've got some problems over there. So now we can go and do something about that. And this is a beautiful, simple way to go and see those relationships and take action. The other thing that we wanted to do is build in the ability to connect various people to other people. So here is a simple connection. Lee Wong is connected to Patrick, and they have a reporting relationship. And what we wanted to do there was be able to give you the ability to connect internal people and external people to various people within the organization view, to say, I know John, who knows Sally, who knows Lee. And through that relationship, I can go and sell to these people. Leveraging things like the LinkedIn connector for Dynamics CRM, you can further exploit relationships within your network to go and start building up the data in your system to go and then say, right, these are the people I need to identify with this particular message. I never said that selling is not hard work. It is hard work. Sellers need to not be lazy. They need to go and work. They need to dig through social networks. They need to go and pick up the phone and phone companies and go and get contact information. Load that in the system and methodically, systematically work through each of those people until they build relationships strategically, because they're dropping insight at each of those positions or each of those divisions. And so our software and the Relationship Explorer helps you to do that, helps you identify individuals and work with them on a case-by-case basis. The next thing we believe helps with a well-rounded strategic account management kind of approach is something that we call Whitespace, identifying the next opportunity for sale. And here's an example canvas that we built for a customer. So you've got customers down the left-hand side, you've got products or services or service lines or product lines, whatever you want to call it, however you want to filter the data across the top. And then we've got these little cards that show a trend of spend, they show a target per account, they show how far you are against that target, and it's showing you, more importantly, the white space, the potential opportunity, where you haven't sold a particular product or a particular service offering to a key account. And so if I take Anytech as an example, I haven't sold them integration services, I haven't sold them managed services, And so those are two conversations I should pick up the phone and phone them immediately. I should also look at on the consumer side there and see, we've got 2.8 million of target, but I'm actually, I've only sold them 600,000 odd worth. And so I'm only 15% of my way through the target. I need to drive that sale. I need to go and spend some time with that account and show them different products and services that we have and start creating opportunity, creating sales momentum. Those are just some tools to help you. And what we can help, or what we have helped with other customers, is that you take a selection of that white space, you add it to a marketing list, you give it to your marketing team, and the marketing team goes and invites them to an event or sends them some collateral or whatever the case may be to assist your sales efforts. And it's a really, really helpful tool to some of our customers. So now you've gone and done all the hard work, you've built your key account plan, you've identified the key individuals, you've gone and looked at some of the metrics and some of the reports that are coming from the back end so you can target your message, and you've gone and seen where the opportunity and where the conversation should strike. Now it's all about pursuing that opportunity. And here, what I've shown you now is what we call a vanilla or standard out-the-box screen for opportunity management in Dynamics 365. What you've got is, across the top, you've got a process bar, which is showing you right now you're in the qualify stage. There's a bunch of other stages. You've got to move from qualify to propose to contract to close. And if you click on each of those things, it shows you what are the actions that you need to take at each step to move that sales process forward. Those processes are completely configurable to your business. You can have multiple processes. It's really all about how you sell. The next thing that you can see there is that you can create quotes. You can have different approval levels. We can integrate with things like Adobe Sign to simplify your contracting and simplify your account onboarding. Remember that important thing, you need to be easy to buy from. And I'll give you a simple example. We worked with one of the major banks here in South Africa. They had a very intense paperwork process when they onboarded any new account. And what we did is replace all that paperwork with electronic documents and electronic signatures. And it cut down the onboarding time by more than 95%. And it's saving them thousands and thousands of hours of admin every single month, because all they do is they create an opportunity like this, they send it for signature, all the paperwork is pre-completed, the customer fills out the information on that form, which then updates the system automatically without double capture. They sign the document, that comes back as a signed document for your records, and the whole process is done. Beautiful, simple customer onboarding experience. That's what you can do with technology. And of course, these screens and this that we're showing you today is really configurable to your business. So if you want to see things like probability, the estimated revenue that you're going to drive from this deal, when you're going to close this deal, what are the next steps, what territory is this in, does this attract a commission, what products and services are we selling, whatever your business needs, we can put it here. And in the middle, what you have is a timeline of interaction. So if your reps have been sending emails, if they've been making phone calls, setting up appointments, whatever the case may be, you can track that and see that history, create notes and so forth, so that you build up this rich context for each and every single deal. When you have your sales meetings, you're fully aligned, you're fully aware of what's going on. So those are just some of the things. There's a bunch of other things that we can help you with, from social selling to lead tracking and conversion, to visualizing your relationships, managing behavior, providing a single view of your customer. Whatever the case may be, there's a bunch of things that we can help you with. Some of them are a lot more technology oriented. Some of them are very simple, just around sales process, around reports and charts and things like that. And really what we want to do is come in and work with your business to help you to deal with some of these challenges and provide software to overcome this and software to support your business. And so where to from here? Well, we invite you to reach out to us, to engage us in a consultation, to tell us some of your challenges, tell us some of your problems, and see how we can help you. And that's really what we would like to ask you to do, is to reach out to us. You can reach out at sales@ec.co.za or sean@ec.co.za, or go on our website, whatever the case is. Get in touch with us, engage us today, and let's go and see how we can help turn your sales approach into something that delivers results. So we'd like to thank you very much today for being part of this webinar, and we'd like to wish you all the best. We hope that this webinar has brought you some ideas on what you can do to increase your selling, or increasing your sales capability, and of course we invite you to reach out and connect with us. So thank you.